Good morning, everyone. Today we're going to focus on one of my favorite topics, and that is Goal 9. And I have a friend here, a very important person at Southeast Community College, Beth Cummins. She is the Lincoln Campus Director and Vice President of Student Affairs. How are you, Beth? Say hi to the whole college.
Hey, whole college. How you doing today?
Of anyone I can think about, and I think about Goal 9, it's definitely Bev. You can see she did not do this just for the video, but right behind her in her office, she was one of the first individuals to have each of our 6 ideas underlying Goal 9 put into a frame, and we've defined those. And what we're going to do today is talk a little bit about that. And Bev, if you're ready, I am going to share my screen.
Okay.
And I'm going to move this. Can you see my screen?
I can.
Okay. So the first one we're going to talk about is transparency. We're in a very unique time right now with the COVID situation. And as you know, it's vital that we communicate on a regular basis in terms of what's happening at the college and how are we responding to the current situation. So let's talk about transparency, and I want to hear from you as a campus leader. What does this mean to you? How do you practice this, and how do you encourage everyone else to embrace this? And the way we've defined transparency is as follows. Accurate communication of information, here's the hard part, that is interpreted as intended. And that is almost impossible because we all have our own filters. So when something is said, we hear it in a certain way that's likely different from anyone else. Very, very, very difficult to actually be transparent. So let's talk about that. How do you do this?
So, well, first of all, I would say that what I'm seeing on your screen is about viability ratio, and that's very transparent because I have no idea what viability ratio is.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that.
Okay.
I was just talking about viability ratio, which is actually, since you brought it up, it's expandable net assets divided by long-term debt. It's one of 4 ratios that make up what's called the composite financial index. And our wonderful Vice President of Administrative Services, Amy Jorgens, just sent that to me to go over. And we just are now submitting it today to the Higher Learning Commission. Is this better? Can you see this?
That is better. Absolutely. Now it's transparent. I can see it.
Okay. So accurate communication of information that is interpreted as intended. So how do you navigate that?
You know, I think what I try to do most of the time is to make sure that the way I said something is understood, and when possible, I try to ask others. So not just, do you have any questions, but does that make sense, and how are you understanding what I just said? In some way or another, asking them to repeat it back to me so that I make sure that I'm understanding how they're interpreting it. And I think another piece of that is making them feel comfortable to do that with me. So that way they feel like, they can trust and say, Bev, I don't understand what you're saying. And then I can say, well, what part seems confusing? So I think a lot of these Goal 9 has that underlying of feeling confident and comfortable having those kind of transparent communications with one another.
I think I would challenge you a little bit in that I totally agree that one way to ensure that you're being transparent is to say, could you repeat back what you heard? And you did cover the other side of that, but I think I want to emphasize that a little bit. I would hope that we can create environments to where our employees, our colleagues feel very empowered and assertive, and they can say, no, wait a minute, Bev, I think that you just said this to me. I think that's super important, and I think that I think that's the kind of environment we want to create.
Exactly.
What in your opinion, what are some of the complexities or struggles that you have with transparency, especially in the kind of situation we're in now, where we're having to try to be transparent in a situation where people have a lot of anxiety and worry?
And I think that understanding that they have that anxiety, and then trying to make sure I'm interpreting their concerns appropriately. So it goes both ways. I can be trying to explain my ideas and thoughts and perspectives about something and making sure that they're understanding me as I've intended, but I also have just as much of an obligation to understand and ensure that I'm understanding where they're coming from.
Right. I think one of the things, for example, let's say we had one of your employees said this person is not telling the truth in a meeting because they said that, well, I told them something, or but they don't believe that person was being truthful. But it very well could be that the person that they're referring to just interpret it in a different way.
Right.
But what's important is if someone believes you said something, it is true to them. They're not trying to make up something. They heard it. And a lot has to do with your experiences in life, your struggles, your just the different things that you've experienced causes you to think about things differently. So if I said, I have that happen to me all the time where someone will say, Dr. Rhodes, you said this. And I said, well, I didn't intend to say that, but that's what they heard. So it's important that we acknowledge that individuals hear things and it's real to them. So we have to be very patient and really work with them to make sure that we acknowledge that they heard that, but then back up and say, but that's not what I was trying to say, and really work on that. Anything else you want to add? I'm going to conclude this video and we're going to make 2 other videos about 2 other Goal 9 ideas.
Okay, sounds great.
All right. Thanks, Bev.
Bye.
I'm going to stop the screen sharing and end the meeting. Everyone have a great morning.
You too.